If you do this, you should statistically get way, way better at sales. I'm going to walk through a couple statistics from a company called Gong. For those of you never heard of Gong, Gong is a software that records sales calls for sales teams and reports on the data so that sales managers, sales leaders, entrepreneurs can use that data, use those statistics to improve their team's performance. So they've worked with hundreds of companies, probably thousands of companies at this point, and have definitely recorded, analyzed, and got data for hundreds of thousands of sales calls. And what they've done is they put together this article, this little document here, detailing some of the nuances between calls and how it affects sales call success. So, they're taking a bunch of sales calls and saying, okay, when closer or sales professional, cold caller, appointment setter, whatever does X, it typically over hundreds of thousands of calls has resulted in Y performance. Every single time you start the call this way, on average, statistically, you close less deals, you set less appointments, versus when you end the call this way, you end up closing more or less deals. That being said, we're going to look at 3 statistics from that article today. And if you guys enjoy this, I can put the article down below and maybe we can analyze some more of these in the future. But we're going to be looking at 3 of them, with the first one being, don't ask, did I catch you at a bad time on a sales call? So what this one is talking about is a cold call. I'm assuming when you open up a cold call with, hey, did I catch you at a bad time? Based on the hundreds of thousands of calls that they've analyzed, they saw a 40% drop in the chances of that call being successful, which most cold calls, the goal is to set a meeting. 40% of those calls or those conversations are going to result in the negative if you say something like, hey, did I catch you at a bad time? Let's talk about why this is. I'm not just going to read the article and move on. We're going to analyze it a little bit. And just from my experience, I would say it's because you're giving them an out, right? Us as human beings, we're very, very prone to answer in the negative, right? Like that's why when you go into a store and someone says, hey, do you need some help? Even though you are looking for something and you don't know where it is yet, and you could probably use their help with looking for something in the store, your natural knee-jerk reaction is going to be, no, I'm okay. I'm fine. I don't need help, right? So when you give people that out, what you're doing is allowing them to not actually think about, hey, do I need this help? Is this a bad time? Can I have a conversation right now? 99% of the time, they're not going to sit and actually ponder that and give you a real answer. They're just going to do whatever they can to get that conversation out of the way and get back to what they were doing, because it's not something they necessarily had planned. Because what you're doing by calling them out of the blue, this being a cold call, is you're interrupting something that they were in the middle of. So we're so quick to just swipe things by, get things out of the way, that if you say, hey, did I catch you at a bad time? The immediate knee-jerk reaction is going to be, yeah, you did, because we didn't actually get the opportunity to build any value and actually give them a reason why they should give us their time, why they should continue that conversation. So I can 100% see that this stat makes a lot of sense, that you're probably going to lose out on a lot of deals if you open up every cold call with, hey, this is Ty. Is this John? Yeah. Hey, John, did I catch you at a bad time? Yeah, you did. Goodbye, right? Especially if you introduce your company and they know you're there to sell, and that sales resistance shoots right up and they have that barrier. So that's one stat. The second stat here that I was looking at was you can actually massively increase your cold call success if you say the words, how have you been, somewhere in the beginning of the call. Right? Now, why is this? Why does this specific word track, how have you been, result in a 6x higher success rate than the baseline of, just randomly introducing your name, your company, and getting right into why you're calling? Now, I've actually tested this with my sales team that I was managing. I tested Does this work better? Are people more prone to continue the conversation? And I've called people myself from our lead list to see if it got me into more conversations, and it actually did. And the reason why I believe it does is the slight difference in words and what it allows and makes the prospect think about in that moment. So I've tested this between not saying anything at all, just getting right into why I'm calling. And I've also split tested how have you been versus how are you. And how have you been massively outperformed how are you. And the reason why, based off of my experience, I believe it did, was because it implies a past relationship, and it's a pattern interrupt that gets the prospect thinking, wait, do I know this person? Should I know this person? Is this someone I should remember? And it actually pulls them in, because they're now not, they're not ready to just hang up, because they're like, wait, if this is someone I know, they're saying, how have you been? Which means it's implying a past relationship. And I don't want to be rude and hang up on someone who I should know. And, if I forgot them, I'm so sorry. So let me stick on the phone a little bit longer, or at least hear what else has to say to confirm whether I know this person or not, because the last thing I want to do is hang up and then find out later that that was some friend that I just forgot their name for a second, right? It's like when a random person comes up to you on the street and they're like, hey, remember me? Your first thought isn't to be like, no, I don't remember you, goodbye, see ya, and then immediately keep walking. Your reaction is to pause, think. It stumbles you for a second. It throws you off. You're like, wait, do I know this person? Should I remember this person? I go, oh yeah. And then you get into the conversation. Or even sometimes when, and I can't say for you guys, but for me at least, when there's been people that have come up to me and they are like, hey, remember me, whatever, we shake hands, I hope you're doing good, how's everything going? And then, I facilitate the whole conversation with them. I said, I'm good, how are you? All that stuff. We shook hands, they walked away. And I was like, I have no idea who that was. I don't remember that person at all. But the reason why I stuck in it is because I didn't want to be rude, because they were acting like they knew me. So we must have had some kind of prior relationship. And when you imply the past relationship, people don't want to just cut you off and keep it pushing, right? So how have you been? I've used it myself. It's worked so much better when you open those calls. And a lot of times people will be like, I've been good. Do I know you? And then I've literally said afterwards, no, you don't know me. We've never chatted before. But the reason I'm calling is, and at least now what they're doing is they're listening intently to what is being said, which is all you need them to do, because if the reason you're calling is super valuable to them, chances of them sticking on the call go way up. So I can definitely see how this would result in 6x higher success rate. That's a big difference. So if you're not doing it, probably want to try it out. Last one here, turn on your webcam. This is a simple one. So this one actually says that deals are 120% more likely to close when you have your video on during a sales call, which makes total sense. I've done sales over the phone. I've done sales in person, door to door. I've done sales at events. I've done sales obviously on Zoom, face to face. And, I did have a pretty high close rate over the phone, but I will say the depth and the vulnerability of the conversations went way up when you're on webcam. And the people that, gave objections or had trust issues, that was a lot easier to overcome over webcam, right? And I would say the times that I did do sales calls over the phone, the trust issue kind of objections, I don't know who you guys are, this is the first time I've ever spoken to you, those objections were a lot harder to overcome when it was just over the phone, or like I was just dialing them over Skype or something like that without any sort of video. And that's just because I think when you see someone's face, you can pick up more data behind what they're saying. You can suss them out a little bit. For example, if I can say stuff with my words, but my body language will clearly display that I'm telling the truth or not, or you can see it in my eyes. Like when you can look someone in the eye, you have a lot more a semblance of whether the person's telling the truth or not. You can, when you can look at their body language, it's just, we're natural creatures where we can pick up these vibes, these emotions. And when I can see the person in front of me, when I can see their background and see they're not in some sweatshop basement or something like that, you can build more credibility in you, and I can trust the person a lot more. For example, if I was speaking to a business coach and maybe they had a background with some books versus like they're in some shady looking basement, probably going to immediately trust that business coach a little bit less, because it's just weird. Why would you be in that environment? So you can build trust a lot easier. So it's no sense that it's no surprise that 120% more likely to close a deal when the webcam is on, because you can actually interact with the person on a deeper level and pick up more informational cues. That being said, those are the 3 that I'm going to talk about today. 3 awesome stats that if you start to utilize, you'll probably close more deals, at least statistically. As of hundreds of thousands of sales calls are analyzed, these are the things that resulted in more sales than the other. Not saying, did I catch you at a bad time if you're cold calling? Saying, how have you been, instead of how are you, or some other kind of opener when you're cold calling. And turning on your webcam when you do finally set the appointment, get them on the call, and are doing a presentation. It's good to see each other. That being said, that'll be the end of this video. Hope you guys got some value from it. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, comment below, and we'll do some more of these, go through some more stats, and give some of my personal takes on them. But I'll leave it there, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video.